Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Dave. Welcome to Aroid District. So last week I posted a video of the tree branches that I use as a plant support for my climbing plants. I posted that on TikTok and apparently they really liked it. They thought it was provocative. I don't know, but the video did very well for me, and what I'm going to do today is a more in-depth video on how I get these tree branches, I process them, and just for my own excitement, I want to do several setups with these tree branches. Let's get into it. So first order of operations, we need to hunt for or find some tree branches. So I will tell you now, the best places that I find tree branches: on the side of the road, at a city park, or in a shopping center parking lot. Like, you ever go to Walmart or one of these big shopping centers and they have those little areas in the parking lot where they have the trees and the bushes growing? Like, sometimes I'll park next to those and I'll look down on the ground. They actually have some tree branches, because you have the maintenance people who will trim up the tree and do their maintenance, and they leave some of these branches on the ground. Same thing in the city. You know, you got city workers and parks and recreation people who chop down these branches and they don't pick all of it up. So my biggest come up is the side of the road or parking lot. This tree branch right here, I got this one at the Waffle House parking lot, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is the one that I got at the Waffle House. You know, I picked it up, I looked to see if there were any bugs or anything running up and down the stick. I gave it a quick little tap, I looked at it again, and I put it in the trunk of my car. That's how I collect these sticks. Once I, stumble up on a lot of these tree branches, I'll store them in my garage until I use them at a later date, When you are picking out a tree branch, make sure it is a solid wood. You don't want anything that's hollowed out or anything. Normally, if it's a branch that's hollowed out, it's probably a weed. It's not like a real tree branch. It's probably like one of those weed plants from the side of the road, and it dried out and turned into a stick. And normally the hollowed out ones, they're very lightweight, and I wouldn't use anything like that. I also would not use a tree branch that has a very thick bark. If that bark is like half an inch thick, I wouldn't use that, because that bark will break down if you put it inside of a pot. I'd rather have a tree branch that has like a light flaky bark on it. I don't want anything that's like half inch thick or anything like that. Okay, let's talk about processing the tree branch. Now, first thing you want to do when you bring it home is wash it off. Wash it off. You can get a mop bucket, sit this in the mop bucket, and just wash the stick. Scrub it with some dish soap and some warm water. You could always take it a step further and put a little bit of bleach in there. You can also spray it down with alcohol and water after you finish, but overall you just want to wash it a bit. I'm not too concerned with just fully sanitizing it or what have you. Like, I'm not going to sand this down and do all a hardcore processing. That's just not my get down, and it's not going to happen. I've had success without doing that. So a couple of the branches that I had very sharp edges, so I wanted to trim some of that off. It's not a requirement. You could use like a handsaw to trim that, but I wanted it to be a little bit flat. So next I use a Rust-Oleum matte clear sealer. A protective enamel will be the best option. It's just a little more expensive. So the next step, you want to spray the tips of the branch, both tips of the branch, and you also want to spray the portion of the branch that's going to be inside of a plant pot. If soil is going to be around it, I suggest that you give it about 2 or 3 coats of that clear coat. You do not have to spray the whole branch down. It will be discolored if you spray the whole entire branch. If you choose to make a cement base for a heavy or tall tree branch, then use concrete mix or mortar mix. Mix that with water until it's like a pancake mix consistency. It should be just runny enough to pour out of a container. Next, you want to go ahead and pour that concrete mix in there. It should be about 4 or 5 inches thick around that tree branch. You want to let that dry for like a good 2 days before you try pulling it out of that plastic container. So after 2 days of drying, you want to flex that plastic container around. Make sure it's not a plastic container that has ridges on the inside of it. Just give it a little shake and it will definitely come right out. Remember, concrete does not truly adhere to plastic, so you will be able to get it out. Now, when it came to this next branch, the plastic was not as flexible. So what I did was just smack it around the sides and, just to break the edges, and it slipped right out. So we good. And remember, if you are making a cement base, always use a cheap plastic flexible container, and it needs to be smaller than the pot that you're going to use. So if this is going to be the pot that I'm using for the plant, the mold needs to be quite a bit smaller so that when I take this out, when I take this base out, I can fit it into the pot that I want to use. The pot will still have drainage because you use a base that is quite a bit smaller than the base of this pot. The water will go around the sides, and it can even penetrate through the cement base that you've made. But overall, if it's smaller than the pot that you're trying to use, the water will just go around it and it will drain right out, so you don't have to worry about any type of drainage. Next, you want to use a good soilless mix. Now, I got some cocoa chunks off of Amazon. I also got some sphagnum moss. I break that up into small pieces, and I use perlite. Now, you can use like an Aroid mix of your choice, but the key is to have it soilless, and it should have a consistency like this. You want that light and fluffy and airy so that you do not have any rot and your plant grows well. I do not use bag soil for a setup like this. Okay, you all, I have my tree branch with the base on it. This is the pot I'm using. Let me show you which plant I'm working with first. Here it is. This is an Epiprimum giganteum. I got a feeling that this one is gonna do great things once it gets acclimated to this branch. Hopefully everything goes well, but I had plans for this, and yeah, we doing the Epiprimum giganteum. I highly recommend this plant, by the way, y'all. This is a pothos. It's just a different form of a pothos. It grows really large leaves. So let's see if we can size this up and see how impressive I can grow it out. So I think this autumn fern will make a good backup dancer for this giganteum. Look at them together. What you think? So, I don't know much about autumn fern. I have these outdoors in my front yard, and they only $5. So I figured I place these together. The only issue is this plant is not supposed to dry out. This one is in between waterings. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just keep this one in the pot and put it inside that planter. You'll see, watch. All right, let's take this apart. And this is what the roots are looking like on this plant. Now, some of these lower leaves are damaged. I don't like the way they look, so I'm peeling those off as well. There's a lot better. I can work with this. So when it comes to this branch, I don't think I want it to be at the bottom of this base. I'm gonna put a little bit of soil first and then sit this on top. Hopefully that'll work out well. Just a little bit, and then I'm gonna set this in there. I should put a little bit of heavy gravel in there to help stabilize that base as well. Bag of gravel. Put some of that down here. And I'm just setting this on top of that cement base. Well, I tell you, I'm already making a mess. I feel like you should click the like button just because I'm gonna have to do a lot of cleaning up after I do all of this. So, yeah, I'm gonna take this fern, take the tag off, and I'm gonna put it down in here. I'm gonna just leave it like that. Yeah, so the thing with this fern is I'm able to water it separately from this one. you know, and the roots at the bottom will kind of go into the rest of the pot, but I'm able to kind of target water this one on the side and leave this one dry if need be, if you understand what I'm trying to say. Next, I want to add a little bit of granule fertilizer. This is what I chose because it was the lowest price for the largest amount. All right, let's situate this plant in here. So I want to get this tied to the branch already, and then I'll continue to fill it up. All right, so I'll take one of these Velcros. All right, you want this to be secure to this branch, you know, not super tight, but just, you know, secure enough. And then once it recognizes that it has the support of this branch, you'll see how the growth pattern changes. You'll see how the leaves get larger. It's actually pretty cool to see. Okay, so I am going to take a handful of sphagnum moss and wedge it in between the aerial roots and that branch. What that's going to do is the moisture from the sphagnum moss, when I water it, is going to help the plant recognize that there is some support there, and it might put out some aerial roots because of the moisture of the sphagnum moss that's wedged in between. So I'm finished with that, and y'all already know I'm about to top dress this planter. I do have some rocks that I just washed off, and I'm gonna top dress that with these rocks and also some bark. Now, there is a lot of benefits to top dressing a planter. First of all, something like heavy like rocks is gonna help stabilize that branch even more, but it also brings some color. It also keeps the moisture in after you water, so you don't have to water as often. Like something like bark, it breaks down and provides nutrients for the plant as well. So I'm a fan of top dressing most of the plants that I really set up. Okay, so these are the two plants that I want to use for this tree trunk right here. I just bought this one from Home Depot. This is philodendron, red something, and this one is like the philodendron Anthony Anderson or something like that. But I forgot what these is called. Like, I lost my bandwidth for these plant names, but this is the one that has like a little bit of red and white variegation, and this one that has that speckle variegation. This one puts out a lot of color, but I'm gonna put these two together because they're very similar. And you know, to the plant collectors, these two plants are not very impressive, so why not give them an impressive setup to make them more interesting to look at? Let's do these two. So I got these two unpotted, and I'm thinking I need a little bit more swag when it comes to setting these up, because like I said, these aren't very impressive plants yet, so I gotta set it up more impressive. So I'm thinking swag, how about I use something like this, you know, black and gold. That's definitely my style right there. So it has like, you know, gold trim with the black pot. Now I found this at Walmart for $12. Walmart has pots on sale right now, so I had to go grab this, and I think it'll pair well with this. That already looks good right there. All right, so this is metal. So I'm not gonna plant the plants directly in here because the inside is gonna rust when I water it so many times. So I am gonna try to use like a nursery pot and stick it in there. That's what's gonna have to happen because I don't want this to rust. Let's see, with this one, I'm gonna just place it in here first. All right, it's kind of leaning and rocking a little bit, but this table isn't very sturdy either, so let's see. And I'm looking, the drainage holes are around the side of this, so it's not stopping any drainage. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it to the side like that. So judging by the growth pattern of these, I want the nose to touch the branch here, and I'll put this one on this side and kind of intertwine them and see how that looks. Let's see there. Let me look at that. Oh yeah, that's gonna be dope. Yeah, I like that. So I'm thinking this Hoya Bertonier matches with this situation. So I'm gonna add this in here. Hopefully this can grow up the branch as well. It has smaller foliage, so it can grow like in between. That's what I'm thinking. Let's try it out. And for the last setup, this is the branch that we're using. This is my favorite branch. I really like this one. If you can check out the character, it has a lot of lichen and different types of moss that dried up on the branch. And just look closely at those details. Like, that's dope. And it reminds me of like a snowstorm or something. This kind of looks very winterish, and that is why I will be using this Wilbur Graves. Now I have 2 pots of Wilbur Graves. They've been neglected. They've bone dry right now, but if you look at the frosted color on those leaves, I think it'll match well with this frosted tree branch. So that's the deal. And if you notice with this tree branch, I didn't want to bother the character and the pattern that this tree branch has, so I only sprayed it to there where where it's gonna be underneath the soil. So this is coated with the with the sealer, so it'll be a little bit hydrophobic and it'll be able to dry out in between watering. So I kept the sealer right here. I did not spray anything above that. So. So I learned over the years that when you do a setup like this, you grow a plant on a tree branch, you may not get instant gratification. You got to give that plant time to adjust to that tree branch and grow up the tree branch, I prefer to use climbing plants with 3 or 4 leaves on them. That way they can adjust to this tree branch. When it grows up, it'll look a lot more neat and the leaves will face the proper way and all of that kind of jazz. If you take a large plant and try to stick it to the branch, there is a chance that it might look messy. So I would start with fresh cuttings or, a smaller plant. But yeah, this is the outcome of these setups. I'll be sure to keep you all updated. So y'all leave a comment below and let me know which one was your favorite setup. For me, it was that white pot with the Epiprimnum giganteum. I think that one is gonna be a beast when if it grows well. So I like doing these projects. It's like poetry on a tree branch. So speaking of poetry, there is this really prolific poet by the name of 2 Chainz, and he says, "I wish a nigga would like a kitchen cabinet." Yeah. So I wish you all would.